Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. J, and this is a video response to Homeschooling Daddies. I promised you a video on showing you some of the hands-on resources that I use with my second grader. For people that follow my channel, you guys know that my twins are starting second grade this year. What a lot of people don't know is that I actually use two completely different curriculum paths with my twins. So my son, whom we call Salamander, he actually uses a much more hands-on approach to his curriculum than my daughter. And that's because he's just a kinesthetic learner, but in addition to being a kinesthetic learner, he is also a mover and a shaker. So although he is not diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, he does not have ADD, ADHD, he presents like a child with ADD, ADHD, and that is because he has other things actually going on. One is, in addition to being highly gifted, he's also dyslexic, and he has sensory processing disorder. And on top of that, we believe that he probably has dysgraphia as well. His older brother, who's 2 years older, was just formally diagnosed with dysgraphia, and he presents the same way. And so those things combined make him look and function very much like a child with ADD, ADHD. And so a lot of things that I'm using would probably be helpful with a child with that diagnosis. Basically, the way that I guide my homeschooling with him is anytime we can do something hands-on, we do. So if I ever have a choice between, is this just going to be paper and pencil, or is this going to be much more interactive, we go with interactive. So, for instance, for reading, again, because he's dyslexic, we deal with, reading and spelling and writing. And so we're still doing phonics. And it's because I want him to have a much easier time with reading. So while you can say that, okay, he reads at the first grade level and he's just starting second grade, so that makes sense, I want his fluency to get a lot better, and I want him to read with a lot more ease. And so we're rounding through with phonics again for him. And what I've done is added a lot more hands-on components. So for instance, with dysgraphia, letter formation tends to be a little bit harder, and with dyslexics, you have a lot of situations with letter reversals. And so we are using this kit. It is called Letter Construction. It's from Learning Resources, but I actually got it off of Amazon, and it's great because basically what you do is, let's say you're working on the letter G. Okay, so it tells you pull out these pieces, and with these pieces, you're going to form the uppercase and the lowercase g. And so he takes out the pieces that he needs, and then he starts to build with those letters. And then, once he's finished building with those letters, he ends up, having, basically you start with these pieces, and then, he can put them together. He actually puts them together a lot better than I do. So he puts them together, and then voila, he has his G. And it's hard for me to see which way I'm doing them on the screen, but I promise it does. You won't have letter reversals with it, even though it looks like I'm having letter reversals on my screen for me. And then also for that lowercase g, he again would just put the pieces together. He's naturally a hands-on learner, so this is what's hard for me is really easy for him, and so he ends up with his correct G. And so he does these, and it's great. He does it for each letter as we go over it, and it's just a really hands-on way for that letter formation. And he will tell me about, he is a builder, and for him to build the letter first and then write it and practice it, that has been the key to stopping his reversals, because he doesn't look at it as a writing activity. He starts to look at it as construction, like, how do I need to construct this letter? And so that has been really helpful. So that's a great hands-on way to do letter formation. What I have decided for myself is that we don't even look at ages, because like on the box it says, 3+ and it's pre-K plus. That doesn't matter to me. What's going to be the best fit for my kids? So I don't get, taken, aback or anything like that when somebody says, he's going to second grade and he's doing pre-K work, he's doing fine. And I would say that for you too. You know, it's all about getting your child very good with the basics. And research has actually shown that the best time to teach a boy to read is age 7, even though some boys read with ease much earlier than that, 3, 4 years old. For the average boy, age 7 is really the best time to really hit reading. So I wouldn't even panic with him, with your son. Another thing I do that's hands-on is when we practice spelling, I have a magnetic whiteboard, so you can write on it, and it's magnetized, and I also have magnetic lapboards. And I got a couple cases of these, and so it's magnetic learning letters. There's 104 pieces, and I have 2 sets. And it's really great because the consonants are in blue, and the vowels are in red, and Y, there's actually sometimes Y, you have some Y's in red when it's functioning as a vowel, and some Y's in blue when it's functioning as a consonant. So it's actually really great. So when he's going over his spelling test, instead of forcing him to write everything, he actually can go to the whiteboard. I can call out the letters, and then he can construct the words, make the words with magnetic letters on the whiteboard. And then once we go through and correct the test and see that he spelled all the words right, or if he didn't spell the words right, when we get the magnets in the right order, then he can copy the list from the board. And so that's been something that's really good for us. Another thing that I use a lot of hands-on is, again, for letter construction, modeling clay. And I just picked these packets up from Walmart. You can get them really cheap, and actually when you have the back to school sale, it's even cheaper. But I like these because lots of different colors, and they're already kind of thinned out, so it's not overtaxing on him because of dysgraphia. But he can snake these out and then form letters with clay. And you can even form words that way. So if your child is having some trouble spelling words, you can actually form really neat words that way as well. Another thing that I do is I try to find good books for him to practice reading, books that he's going to want to read. And so what I do is try to find the best books possible that are teaching the same concepts that he needs to learn, but are going to be fun for him to read. Brian Cleary makes some really great books, and these are some vowel sounds. These are basically phonics-based books. There's sound-based reading, and this is an example of one of the books. This is book 6, and you can see it says, a long vowel sounds book with consonant diagrams. And so it's whose shoes would you choose? And so when you open it up, it's going to tell you, okay, the words in this page are shown, thrown, phone. And so he can practice those words and listen for the rhyming sound, because if your child has trouble hearing the rhyming sound, that's going to let you know that they're going to have trouble phonetically spelling things out. So you get to practice that rhyming sound until they can really hear it. And then there's a simple to read page. The sun shone on the throne as he talked on the phone. And I love these because they're along the lines of Bob books, but they're a lot more, the pictures are just more interesting. And while I love Bob books, we've used them a lot when my kids were younger. Now that my son is in 2nd grade, I really want him to have much more fun with it. I don't want it to always be something that's a struggle or something that's boring. So I want him to have some fun books to read. And then each page in the book goes through different sounds. So this one is each, reach, peach. So it's teaching that each word family. And then once we go over that, he can hear the rhyme. Then he can read the sentence. We each reach for a peach. Another book that I love, I actually got these recently. These are from, I got these from Walmart. But it's basically books that have a lot of Dr. Seuss and Eastman books inside of them. So you can find like 3 or 4 different ones of these, and it's great because like a lot of people, they don't look at Dr. Seuss books as reading books, but the reason why Dr. Seuss wrote the original Cat in the Hat was because he had read a report about how kids were really struggling learning how to read. And he said it's because the Dick and Jane books were so boring. So he took the word list that the children were supposed to know, the first 50 words that children were supposed to learn, and he wrote Cat in the Hat with those, using only those 50 words. And because the challenge was, can I make a fun, interesting story that's still going to get kids to want to read and teach them these same words? And so basically, look at books like Dr. Seuss books and Eastman books and different things like that, because your child will be able to read an entire book. They'll feel very comfortable. Your son is going to feel very comfortable and very confident and very happy about being able to read an entire book all by himself. And the books are going to be interesting for him and keep his attention. So Dr. Seuss books, start with the kind of earlier ones and then move up, but they're great. And then also the P.D. Eastman, which is, those books are written along the same vein as Dr. Seuss books. For math. Math is what I do the most hands-on. And so again, like I said, anytime I can do something hands-on, I do it. So when we're working on clocks, I have these hands-on clocks. So he gets a card, says what time it needs to be. So he will find the time on the clock. And then for the higher level math problems that you tend to have in 2nd grade, what he'll do is, like, it'll say, right now it is 5 o'clock. The word problem will say, right now it's 5 o'clock. So he finds 5 o'clock. What time will it be in a half hour? When he first started, I would actually have him move it 30 minutes and then say, what time is it? Now, since he's a little bit more comfortable with it, now it's he uses it to check his answers. So he'll say, it's going to be 5:30, and then we'll go through and check the answer and make sure the answer is right. Another thing that we do is, you'll hear about these. These are basic block tiles. There's so many different names for them, but basically this is a 1,000 block cube, hundreds, tens, and ones. And so when your son is doing math problems, a great way for him to be able to do them interactive is using these hands-on things. A lot of people think that they have to go away from hands-on math when the children get older, but you don't have to. I actually have hands-on math for my oldest who's starting the pre-algebra series. I have algebra-based hands-on math things for the kids to do. And so, because some kids they're just kinesthetic and they're visual, they have to see it, and then when they can see it, they can do it. So we use these. You can find these on Amazon very easily. They're and they're great. Another thing that I have is a number line. This is a number line, and it goes all the way up to 20, and it's plastic. And what I will do is, I will actually, you can see my tape, I duct tape this down a hallway, and what we'll do is, I have all these die. And so these are just called jumbo die. Again, you can get these off of Amazon, as well as the number line, Learning Resources number line. Again, I got it off of Amazon. And what we'll do is, whatever we're working on, now he can actually use this die, which has addition, subtraction, greater than or less than, depending on how you look at it, and equal. And so he can roll this die and then roll these 2 dies. So if it says, okay, 5 plus 6, then he steps on the 5 and goes up 6 places and tells me the answer. Now that he's much better in addition, what he'll do is he'll tell me the answer, and then he'll check his work by walking the number line and seeing if he was right. And we can do it with subtraction too. This goes all the way up to 20, so you will also be able to practice initial carrying with this number line. So, and also, and so it's really, really good and simple. You can also practice really simple borrowing with it. So this is good, and it grows with him. And so I have a lot of different die, and so as he gets better, he may roll two die at one time. So like if he wrote this, it's like, okay, 7 plus, 11. And so then now that's a much more complex number to work with. And so to make it easier, what I would actually do is have him combine the colors together. So combine these two colors and then these two colors and then add them together to get the final result. So that's, again, a great way to practice repetition. Another Montessori-based tool that I have is these are place value blocks, and so that my son could really understand place value, what we would do, like we may grab this, and so you build the number, and so with this number, it's 275, and then he can separate them out. That's 200 plus 70 plus 5. And so it's a great way for him to, okay, I'll fix it. It's a great way for him to visually be able to see the numbers. Another great thing that I love, my son is a Lego fan, so I bring in Legos as part of our homeschooling. So I have these tiles. You can actually buy these, or you can buy these from Montessori type places, or you can make your own. You can find them on the internet. These are basically plastic, and so what you would do is it's 9 plus 9. And so what he would do is he would get 9 Legos of one color and 9 Legos of another color, and then once he figures out the answer, now again, since he's better, he just tells me the answer. But when he first started, he would get out the Legos, he would count them and say 9 plus 9 is 18, and then he would build a structure. Now he will tell me the answer, check his work, and then the reward is that he gets to build a structure. So if he does 5 of these different problems, then he gets to build 5 structures. This is actually great to use with boys, especially reluctant learners, because my son begged for higher level problems because he wanted to build bigger structures. So building 1 plus 1, that's no fun. And so he's like, he's into, he's like, I want, 9 plus 9. I want 8 plus 8. I want 9 plus 7. And so it really helped to move him along to really embracing larger numbers and larger math problems, because the end result was much more awesome creations that he was able to come up with. So I'm a big fan of bringing in things that they like into the classroom. Another way, we do a lot of science in my, here's another math thing that I wanted to show you before I move to science. These are called math wrap-ups. Again, I got these off of Amazon, and this is the edition one. And so basically what you do is when he's doing plus 1. And so basically you look on this side, it's 3 plus 1, it would equal 4. And then 6 plus 1 is going to equal 7. And so he'll do 4, he'll do 3 plus 1 equals 4, and then 6 plus 1 equals 7. And I love it because on the back, they're self-checking. So the back is grooved. So when you put it all together, when you look at the back, you can clearly see if you answered them all right or not. And these are great practice. I can just give it to him to do here, or we can take it in the car with us if we're going to be going somewhere on a car ride. So these are really, really great. And again, they're called wrap-ups, and we have them for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And I actually have them for pre-algebra too, fractions and pre-algebra as well. And so, and it goes all the way up to 10. So again, this is fun. It's fun repetition. It's something that he can easily do, and it feels like a game, but he's doing really good work. Another thing that we do is, he didn't decorate his cover yet, but this is an interactive math journal. Interactive math journals are really popular now, and so this is a picture of my son. So the first page I made for him is a full picture of him, and it says, "This person is great with math." And so I wanted to really encourage him. Then we have a little number line where if he ever needs help, he can do the number line. And one of the first things that I did. I left a couple pages for the table of contents. First thing we did was digits, where he traced his hand, and then he put he did stickers for all the digits. And then he says there are 10 digits, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on the next page, he did a 0 to 99 chart. And with a 0 to 99 chart, basically the child writes 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, all the way to 0, 9. And then the last row, 9, 0, 9, 1, 9, 2, 9, 3, 9, 4, 9, 5, 9, 6, all the way to 9, 9. And then he does the addition. So 0 plus 9 is 9. And 9 plus 0 is 9. So you get to see the patterns. And then as he goes through, he'll also end up doing a multiplication 0 to 99 chart as well. And then, so our first section in the interactive math journal is addition. And so this is like little, how do I know when I add? And then questions like, what does it add up to? How many are there all together? How much is there all together? What is the total? If we put this together with that, how many will we have? How many are there in all? And so that just gave him a clue of these are when I know I need to, these are when I see these questions in a word problem, I'll know that I need to add. And then vocabulary, he learned that the addend is the number that is added, and the sum is the answer. So he was able to do this little chart, and we do everything. You know, it's fun. Interactive math journals, they're really fun. There are lots of hands-on little things that you can do. And so, again, it's a great way to do little simple problems with your child, and they can have fun, and it grows with them. And so, you know, and it's interactive. So this is the 6s, so he'll do these orally. These are the 5s. And so it grows with them. And a lot of I had gotten the initial pages for our interactive math journal from Homeschool Share, Blog Share, where people were sharing their blogs. And then I got one that from Teachers Pay Teachers, a site that you want to spend some time on is Teachers Pay Teachers. It's great, especially if you don't know if you're going to homeschool your child all the way through. If you plan on homeschooling for him for a few years, and then you're pretty sure that you're going to send him back to school, to the public school setting, or even the private school setting, Teachers Pay Teachers is great because they have lots of hands-on interactive things, but they're going to be Common Core aligned so that when he goes back into that school setting, it'll be a much easier transition than if you did things completely different. But there's tons of hands-on stuff. We probably will not go back into a traditional school setting, but I still use a lot of their materials because they have great hands-on stuff, very creative. Another thing that we use that I highly recommend with children who are ADD, ADHD, or who have writing issues is graphic organizers, because it shows that your child understands the concepts without asking for too much writing. For science, we do, like when like my son, he wants to study animals and stuff, and so in addition to watching YouTube videos and reading books about an animal, he'll also put these together. So we have frog, and we have a pig, a tiger, a horse, a giraffe, a cow, a dog, and so he gets to put them together. We have these sort of things for human anatomy and all that other sort of stuff. It's just basically fun. This book I recommend to anybody who will listen. It's such a great book. It is Stephen Caney's The Ultimate Building Book, and I mean, okay, this is the back, so it shows you the type of stuff that you'll do. Everything from building small little towers with toothpicks and marshmallows, up to building large structures. Like this is a guide to building a greenhouse with PVC pipe, and this is for kids. And so it's really awesome, really amazing. Because especially when children struggle in areas, you want to find areas that he's really good at, and allow him to do that as part of the homeschool as well. I actually spend twice as much time on my kids' area of strength as their area of weakness. These are some other books that I really, really recommend. These are called These are the Engineering is Elementary series, and it is put out by the Museum of Science in Boston. The books are only $8 each, and you can buy the whole series. There's 20 books in the series, and each one deals with a different area of engineering. Like this one is on materials engineering, this one is on aerospace engineering, and it's really cool because each story, like it's a story where the child has to deal with the area of engineering where they have to solve a problem, and then there's a place for you to practice, you to design. Like this one was where they had to design a parachute because they were getting fruit out of a tree, and so it gives you an opportunity to practice to build your own parachute as well. But the thing that I really like about it is that each story is set in a different country, so it adds in a little bit of geography for you to do as well. Another thing that I do, I like hands-on kits. This is a Connects education kit, and this one is on Forrest and Newton's law, and they're really neat because once you buy the kit, you can go online and they have a teacher's guide for you to download where you could do some structured activities with the kit to really enhance the learning. I don't know, I recommend these with caution, and that is, like, for instance, history tends to be a topic that sometimes people think is boring, not all the time. My kids aren't really big history fans, and so we don't do a whole lot of structured history. We do a little bit of history, but another thing that we really like is horrible histories. And so it goes through lots of very deep and interesting areas of history, but in a really fun way. But not everybody is comfortable with their children watching this sort of stuff, so that is a recommend with caution, because it is really, it's kind of, it's very humor based. It is a little bit of curt humor, but I think it's funny. It's humor that matches my family, so we don't have a problem with it. But some people will, so that's why I said I recommend with caution. And another thing that I recommend, this is only the last thing, is I like to show my kids that even though they have struggled, they're normal. And so 2 books that I got. This one is The Adventures of Everyday Geniuses. This one is Free Association, Where My Mind Goes During Science Class. And this is a story about a girl who she would always get in trouble for not paying attention. But that's because she was daydreaming. But actually, she wasn't just like randomly daydreaming. She was actually thinking about ways that she can apply what she was learning in class in other situations. So she was actually thinking more deeply about the topic, but it looked like she wasn't paying attention. And so the book basically talks about how her teacher started to recognize that she was actually doing the right thing and she was doing a good thing. And then this one is Mrs. Grosky. I think I have the Wiggle Fidgets. And this is about a little boy who, again, he presents as ADD, ADHD, although they don't call it ADD, ADHD, where he gets into trouble because he's wiggling around and he's, doing this and doing that. And what happens is he comes up with his own solutions for how he can better meet his need to move and still pay attention and not be distracting to others. So this was a really good book too, and I like it. So because even though my kids are homeschooled, we still we do other classes. And you didn't mention if your son was an only child. A lot of people definitely successfully homeschool only children, and I can't speak to homeschooling only children, but I know for my kids, they really do like sometimes taking classes with other kids. And so you can look at your local science museum. Most mid-sized cities and larger, they'll have a science museum or a history museum or something like that. A lot of times they'll do classes. If you have a zoo, they tend to have homeschool classes. So look around at the various museums and things that cater to children, botanical gardens, anything like that, and see if there are some homeschool classes. A lot of times they'll be age banded, so they may be K through 2nd or K through 3rd, and your child may enjoy taking, a class for an hour, hour and a half once a week, where he can still be around some other kids and do some learning, but it's very focused, and he doesn't have to pay attention for 8 hours. He only has to, have that focused attention for maybe an hour and a half. And look for classes that are really hands-on, and then you can give him, a book like this that will give him some coping skills that he can use in those situations, and then he can begin to learn to self-manage and self-regulate as much as possible. But again, he won't have that requirement to do sustain self-management and self-regulation for 8 or 9 hours, it's something that's a much more reasonable chunk for a young child. So I hope this helps. I'm sorry it went so long, but if you look at my other videos, you know that I'm a babbler. So I really apologize for this going this long. I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the description box below. And this is Dr. J, and I'm out. Bye-bye.